Well, good morning. It is about 7:15. We are officially back in Port Canaveral. Unfortunately, it is the end. As I get ready to set home, I do have my free coffee, which if you don't know, if you get a little punch card when you buy into specialty coffees from the coffee shop. There's one in the adults area, and at least on the Fantasy, there's also one in the atrium. Yeah, every 5 you buy, you get a free one after that, so it's kind of some incentive to spend money, like most things. My lens is still foggy because it's just so crazy. Hold on, let me try. Okay, that's a little bit better. Anyways, as we sit up on here on deck, I did want to kind of take a moment to try and answer some questions that people might have. So we're just going to do a few here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. I am mostly packed. There's a couple of things I still need to pack up real quick, and then we'll be hopping off here, heading to the airport here pretty shortly. The number one question that I got was, what was dining like as a solo cruiser? So I can only speak for the 2 cruises that I've done. The first one, I actually didn't do anything special or request anything special. And I actually ended up sitting alone for the whole thing. Now, they had it set up for more than just me, but I ended up by myself. This one, I put in a request on the app when I was checking in to sit alone, and I got that, so I got to sit alone for that whole thing. My guess is if you really want to sit by people, you're more than welcome to do so. Otherwise, I had a whole table to myself, just kind of minded my own business, had my food, moved my way on, and all that other fun stuff. I do know with some couples, unless you do specifically request it, you will usually be paired with another couple, just because most of the tables are like 4. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a good time to get to know people, get to chat with people. But this time I was just kind of wanting to sit by myself for most of it, so that's what that one was. Another question I got was if I thought about doing a live stream type Q&A about cruising. Maybe. In the future, maybe. It's hard to do live streaming on the ship unless you're in port, just because the internet isn't quite good enough for that, but maybe. We'll say maybe on that one. Okay, so tipping. So one of the questions was how much more in tips and fees are normal on top of the initial paid price. So all your port fees and everything else like that is included in the price of your cruise. Tipping, you can do one of 2 ways. You can either do it on your own afterwards. They'll give you little envelopes that you can put money and stuff in, or you can also prepay for it. I think prepaying for my 7-day, I think it was about $140, and it evenly distributes it up between your cabin host, your head waiter, your waiter, and then your assistant waiter, and it kind of does all that thing. And it gives you basically just a little slip that you can slide inside that little envelope to give to them. Obviously, you can add more if you feel so inclined to do so, but it's just one of those things that I personally prefer to prepay it. That way, I don't have to think about it too much. And if I want to add a $1 here or there, or $5 here or there, just in addition to what they already do, that kind of thing. Obviously, your tipping is going to vary on length of cruise. So if it's less nights, it's probably going to be a little bit less. If it's even more nights than 7 nights, it's probably going to be a little bit more. So just kind of be aware of that. They'll give you an exact amount when you book the cruise, either through your travel agent or through online and that kind of thing. That was another question is how did you book this? I booked it online, just through the website. You can also call Disney Cruise Line. I take that back. I actually called for this one. I forgot about that. I had a reservation a placeholder for my last one. So after you do your first cruise, you can buy a placeholder on the app only while you're still on the cruise. You cannot do it afterwards. It's a $250 deposit. That deposit goes towards your next cruise, and then you also get a 10% discount on your next cruise. So your reservation is good for 2 years, and it's 100% cancelable and fully refundable if you so choose to. But to book that, since you already have a reservation number, you have to call into the line and tell them what you want, when you want it, this reservation number, that kind of thing, and then they'll start working on your payment and stuff like that for that. One of the questions I got was any key difference between the Fantasy and the Wonder. There's a lot of similarities, but there are definitely a lot of differences. The big one is size. The Fantasy it's a lot bigger, especially up on top. You can definitely tell it's definitely bigger. It's a few more decks. I think the Wonder topped out at 12. This one tops out at 14 decks, on top of just the fact that it's a longer ship. Obviously the Aqueduct, different restaurants, different theaters. The atrium's a lot bigger. Lots of other things. There's a ton of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities just between carrying over that product. Do I have any thoughts about solo cruising in what is generally marketed as more towards a family? Not specifically. So solo cruising specifically on Disney, I will say, is probably one of the harder ones to do it on. There's a lot of cruise lines that have like solo cabins, which is super nice. The thing that sucks most about at least Disney in terms of solo cruising is you're paying the price of 2 people for just one. Like there's no price difference between 1 and 2 people. It's 2 people is what you're charged, because that's what the standard occupancy of the room is. There are definitely some activities that, and times where it's like, yes, it would be nice to have, a friend or whoever with you, family members or whatever the case may be. But I mean, honestly, like, if you're good with it and you're able to have fun on your own, you're gonna have fun no matter what. As long as you just kind of, there's a little fly flying around. You're gonna have fun no matter what you do, as long as you're able to do that by yourself for a majority of it. You do get to end up meeting a lot of people while you're on the ship. There's just so many moments where you get to interact with different people. You get to know the crew very well, especially on these longer ones. You really get to know the crew really well, and it's super cool for that. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's anything like specific. It's just if you're going to solo cruise, one, you have to be able to stomach the cost, and 2, you just got to be able to survive going for a decent amount of time periods where you're just kind of by yourself for a bit. Another question is about how many steps per day on board versus the park day. So depends on the kind of park day that I'm having, but I looked at it. I didn't have my watch with me for a lot of the cruise. I just kind of ended up stopped wearing it. My phone was telling me I was doing anywhere between 6,000 to 10,000 steps a day on board. In the parks, depending on what I'm doing, I mean, I can do anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000. I could also end up doing 30,000 plus steps. So it's hard to say. Like I said, you definitely do less. There's less walking. There's less, things. I also didn't take the stairs as much this one, just because doing deck 2 to deck 10 is brutal. Going up, going down, it's not so bad, but going up, not the worst, but it's rough. It's rough. What's the best free adult activities to do on the Disney cruise? Whew, okay. I mean, just specifically for adults, I would say there's a lot of quizzes that are really fun. There's definitely some dance parties. Senses Spa, if you get the rainforest room, is really nice. The pool is always really good. They have a lot of activities, they have a lot of things, but like literally anything that you do on board, most of it is included with your cost. And whether it be just for a solo adult or just for adult, ooh, I cannot talk this morning. If it's just for adults, or even if it's, it's a multi-use thing, there's a lot to do on board to keep yourself occupied depending on what you want to do. There's a lot of live free entertainment that's in the different bar areas that are on board in the adult section, and even not in the main atrium, that kind of thing. Obviously there's character meet and greets, there's the different shows the evening time, you have dinner, you have all the different quizzes that are, I missed probably 75% of the quizzes just because of just how many there are. There's arts and crafts that you can do. There's a lot to do. That's not just kiddie stuff. You can kind of do a hero there in any way, shape, or form.
Hi, future editor me here. I had a few more questions that I wanted to address in this, but one of the questions that I got was, what do you need for dress up or clothes and stuff like that for a 7-night cruise? Now, for a 7-night cruise, a standard Disney cruise, you generally have Pirate Night, which obviously none of these you actually have to dress up for, but it's definitely more fun if you're willing to give it a try, give it a shot, and get in there and go do it. But you have Pirate Night, so it basically you dress up as a pirate and do whatever it is that pirates do, as they say. There are also a formal night and a semi-formal night. Again, none of these you actually have to do on your own. It's just what you decide to do. Now, obviously, this sailing was a Halloween on the High Seas cruise, so you have the Halloween night, which you dress up in your Halloween costume. Doesn't have to be Disney related. There were so many other things. I think we saw a Minion at one point and like just a whole bunch of other things. I know for the Christmas cruises, they do kind of like a pajama night, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I'd have to double check it, but I have not done one yet. I hope to do one in the future. So another question that I got was actually about the transfer from the hotel to the port. So for this one specifically for Disney, when it comes to going to Port Canaveral and only sailing out of Port Canaveral, what you can do is you set it up with, I believe it's the member services through Disney Cruise Line. You can also do it, I think, through the website once you're actually collecting everything. I've only done it over the phone, so I can't 100% guarantee that. But you basically tell them you have to book it yourself if you're staying at either one of the on-property resorts at Disney or at the Marriott at the airport, I believe is what it is. I'm remembering that correctly. It's there. It's the hotel that's inside the airport at Orlando at MCO. But you have to stay at one of those. You have to have your reservation already done, and then basically you tell them, hey, I will be staying at this resort. They'll be like, all right, cool. And then they basically work their way through the stuff. And when you check in, they're like, hey, you're going on a Disney cruise. That's awesome. Then they'll tell you that, okay, we're going to come pick up your luggage, since you tell them how many pieces of luggage you're going to do. You tell them how many pieces of luggage. They'll tell you, okay, they'll be there at between, I think it's 7 and 7:30 in the morning to pick you up. And then at 8 o'clock, you have to be outside of where you're going to get on the bus and check in and all the other fun stuff. So that's pretty much how that part of it kind of works. It's relatively simple. You can book the rooms directly when you do call Disney Cruise Line, but if there are any discounts, whether it be annual pass holder discounts or DVC discounts, you don't get those if you book them directly. So I recommend booking your room however it is that you decide to book it, with whatever deals that you can get, save the money, and then you just let them know, hey, I need to sign up for the Disney transfer, and then they will do that. I think it was like $30 round trip between Walt Disney World to MCO. Walt Disney World to Port Canaveral, and then Port Canaveral to MCO. So that's pretty much kind of how that part of it works, which is, it's very simple, it's very easy. It's arguably easier than it was for me in San Diego when I did that. San Diego, I just stayed at a hotel nearby and then walked over. I mean, that part's easy, but the other advantage of the other one is Disney World and MCO, the nearest airport, really is like an hour plus away. So that is the easiest and simplest way to get to Port Canaveral, in my opinion. Obviously, you can rent a car, or if you live in the area, you can definitely drive down there, but you will be paying for parking if you do that. So just something to keep in mind while you're doing that kind of thing. And one of the last questions I got was, how do I handle seasickness? Unfortunately, I am not the person to ask that question, because it turns out that I don't really get seasick. It's just kind of how it worked out for me. I'm usually good, and everything else like that. I know some people are affected. They have like the bands or the patches, or they chew on ginger, or whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, I'm just not that person that can really truthfully answer that question, because it is not something that actually affects. And that's all the questions that I have for now. Before I send it back to Past Me, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will be happy to answer them as best I can, and maybe if I get enough of them, I'll make a whole nother video about this. Who knows? Anyways, send it back.
That's kind of all the questions that I have at the moment. I will probably interject at the end of this from home, because my guess is I will probably get some questions on the tube as I start posting more and more of these videos, which is great. It's fine. I don't have an issue. But just a kind of a quick recap of the whole cruise as a whole. It was amazing. It's a pretty good itinerary. The ship is wonderful. I mean, like with everything, there's always little tiny gripes here and there. But other than that, overall, it was amazing. The cast members, especially, cast members and crew, if any of you guys are watching this and you happen to be, doing the fantasy during this, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I cannot tell you how much, I thank you guys for just all of the amazing hard work that you guys put in to make not only my experience, but everybody's experience, you know, magical and special, literally week after week after week after week. You guys are amazing, just absolutely fantastic and amazing. You guys work so hard, and it's crazy, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, quick recap, 2 sea days, got to experience and check out the ship a lot. After that, we did St. Martin. We got to do the Flying Dutchman zip line, which was super, super cool, super fun. Then a day after that, we did PR, but I ended up electing to stay on board just to kind of jones it out. I talked to a number of people just about the type of things that are being offered in Puerto Rico, and it wasn't something that particularly tickled my fancy, so we just decided to stay on board. After that, we had our last and final sea day. Got to see a bunch of the shows, got to meet a bunch of the characters, that kind of thing. And yesterday, being the last full day, we had Castaway, which was amazing on its own, but then the cast member surprised me with a very, 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 very magical moment that I didn't think something would outshine Castaway on that day, and it did. It honestly did. That moment, like I said, I kind of talked about it last night, but that moment will live with me for the rest of my life. So thank you all. You guys are amazing. I do appreciate each and every one of you for what it is that you guys put forth to make Disney Cruise Line, and to make magic for just so many people. So with that being said, I think it is time that I head downstairs and finally finish packing everything up and get ready to head off here shortly. Thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you guys all enjoyed the series. I'm hoping to do another cruise here soon. I just don't know when, and I don't know what my next plans are after this. I am hoping to do some sort of Christmas thing, either at Disneyland or Disney World, in the next coming month or so, while I kind of finish through these things. But thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Feel free to do the stuff down below if you feel so inclined. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate it and find it crazy that people watch my stuff, which actually kind of interjects. I actually got to meet a few people who have seen my stuff on here, which again blows my mind. You know, especially when, in some ways, I feel overshadowed by the fact that the trackers were on the cruise and the ladies from All Ears were on the cruise and that kind of thing. So it was pretty cool to be able to talk to some of you guys, and you know, people actually recognize me for some of the stuff that I do. That was slightly humbling in that kind of sense of it. But yes, so thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, day, or night, wherever it is that you may be. And I hope you can find your own adventure while you're out there. And we'll see you guys next time.